The glass of the storefronts on Willow Heights gleamed like mirrors, catching every ray of late morning sun. Expensive cars crawled along the street, and people in designer coats moved from shop to shop with the calm confidence of those who never checked price tags. On the corner, beneath a sleek black sign that read forget.This in elegant gold letters, a young black woman paused on the sidewalk and took a slow breath. Imani Wells smoothed the front of her simple cream blouse and brushed invisible dust from her dark jeans. Her clothes were neat, clean, and carefully chosen, but they were not the kind of labels the other people on this street wore. No one looking at her would guess she had designed half the dresses in the window. No one would imagine she owned the entire brand, which, for today, was exactly what she wanted. She pushed open the glass door. A soft chime rang as she stepped inside. The air smelled of expensive perfume and new fabric. Light poured in through tall windows and fell across rows of dresses, each one carefully spaced out, each one perfectly steamed. There were marble floors, gold racks, and delicate mirrors that made the boutique feel like a jewelry box. Imani's jewelry box. Her heart always fluttered a little when she walked in, even after all this time. She remembered the nights she had stitched until her fingers ached, working at a wobbly dining table in a tiny apartment. She remembered making her first sale online to a stranger in another state, then crying alone in her kitchen because someone believed in her design. Now, her work lived here, in this world of glass and light, and very expensive price tags. It should have felt like a victory. But she also knew what this street was like. She'd grown up coming to places like this and feeling eyes on her, like she was out of place just by existing. Sometimes, even now, she tested her own staff to see if they were different. Some days, she was proud of what she saw. Some days, she wasn't. Good morning. Welcome to forget.This, a soft voice said. Imani turned. A young woman with a neat bun and kind eyes smiled at her from behind a display table. Her name tag read, Elise. Good morning, Imani replied. The store looks beautiful. Elise's smile widened. Thank you. I'm still getting used to where everything goes, but I'm trying. You're doing well, Imani said, meaning it. She could always tell when someone cared about the space. Elise had straightened the folded scarves just a minute earlier, not because anyone told her to, but because she wanted them to look right. I love your blouse, by the way, Elise added. It's simple but elegant. It suits you. Imani felt her chest warm. Compliments were different when they weren't based on assumptions or status. Thank you, she said again, genuinely, before Elise could say more. A sharper voice cut through the air. Elise, it snapped. Front display, now. Imani didn't have to turn to know who it was. She recognized that tone instantly. It was the sound of someone used to being obeyed. Sabrina Holt walked across the boutique with long, stiff steps. Her heels clicked forcefully against the marble. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her lipstick flawless, her fitted dress obviously expensive. She looked like she belonged in a fashion magazine, and she moved like she owned every inch of the room. But she didn't. Imani watched her carefully. Yes, Sabrina? Elise asked, straightening a little. Sabrina barely glanced at her. Her eyes were locked on Imani, scanning her from head to toe like she was a problem to solve. Why are you standing here chatting? Sabrina said under her breath, still staring at Imani. We have important clients inside. Make sure the jewelry case is spotless. And don't waste time. Elise's face fell a little. I was just welcoming. I can see that, Sabrina cut in. But we're not a mall kiosk. We need to focus on customers who are actually going to buy something. She didn't lower her voice enough. Imani heard every word. So did two women browsing handbags nearby. One of them, a slim woman in a white coat and diamond earrings, looked up with interest. Her lips curled slightly as she took Imani in the plain blouse, the old jeans, the worn flats, Clara Monroe. Imani recognized her, even if Clara didn't recognize Imani. She was a regular, always asking for special treatment, always demanding last-minute fittings and private appointments. Her money was loud, and she used it like a spotlight. Sabrina stepped closer to her now. "How is everything, Miss Monroe? Can I get you a coffee? Water? Anything special for your visit today?" Clara tilted her head toward Imani. "Just hoping the store keeps its standards," she said lightly. "You know how it is. This area attracts everyone." The way she said everyone made Imani's skin prickle. Sabrina gave a short, fake laugh. "Oh, don't worry," she replied. "We're very careful about who we let linger." Her eyes slid back to Imani, cold and assessing. Imani felt a familiar knot form in her stomach. She'd heard this kind of thing her whole life, wrapped in different words, hidden behind smiles. Sometimes it was a joke, sometimes a concern. Usually it meant the same thing. "You don't belong here." She let her fingers brush one of the dresses on the rack. It was a long emerald gown with a structured bodice and sweeping skirt. She knew exactly how the lining felt, how long it took to get the zipper just right. Which supplier had provided the fabric. She had sketched it on a napkin in a bus station 2 years ago. Now she was being examined like a stain beside it. "Elise," Sabrina said sharply. "Go polish the glass case, now." Elise opened her mouth, like she wanted to say something, then closed it again. Her eyes flicked toward Imani, in silent apology, before she turned away and hurried to the front. Imani stayed where she was, keeping her back straight, her face calm. She always promised herself she would never shrink again, not for anyone. But that didn't mean the words didn't hurt. Across the room, Sabrina leaned closer to Clara and lowered her voice, though not enough. "I keep telling the owner we need a stricter door policy," she said. "This isn't the kind of place for walk-ins." Clara hummed in agreement. People like that step in, and suddenly the mood drops. Imani's jaw tightened slightly. People like that, she'd been called worse. She'd been told directly that black designers don't fit the luxury market, that customers wouldn't connect with her image. She had proved those people wrong, but the wound of those words still lived somewhere deep inside her, in a place she rarely touched today. It was being poked again. A man in a dark suit walked past the window outside, slowed, and did a double take. Imani noticed him through the glass. Recognition flashed across his face. It was one of the investors she'd presented to months ago. He started to lift his hand, as if to wave. Then saw the way Sabrina was looking at Imani. His expression shifted from polite to confused, then to uneasy. Imani gave him the smallest shake of her head. Not yet. The whole point of coming unannounced, without her usual appointments, without a blazer or makeup, was to see the truth, and now she was seeing it. Sabrina finally stepped toward her, the fake smile returning to her lips as she closed the distance between them. "Good morning," she said, voice sweet but tight. "Can I help you with something?" Imani met her eyes calmly. "I'm just looking," she said. "You have some beautiful pieces." Sabrina's gaze dropped to Imani's shoes, then back up again. "Yes," she replied. "We do. We're a high-end boutique. Most of our clients schedule appointments, but you're welcome to browse for a moment." The words sounded like an invitation, but the tone felt like a warning. From across the store, Elise bit her lip. Clara pretended to examine a handbag, but she watched every move, every breath. Imani let her fingertips graze. Another dress, this one, with a deep navy drape and a delicate shoulder detail she'd fussed over for days. "I like this one," she said softly. Sabrina nodded without interest. "That one starts at $1,800, she replied. "Before alterations." The way she said it was not informational. It was a test. Imani felt the pressure of the moment press against her chest. She could end this whole game with one sentence. She could say, "I'm Imani Wells. I own Verret Lukes, and you are talking down to the person who signs your paychecks. Instead." She took a slow breath and stayed silent. Years of struggling had taught her that prejudice didn't change because you revealed the title. It changed when you revealed the truth and made people face it. Sabrina's smile thinned. "We've had an issue lately with people coming in just to touch the fabrics and take photos," she said. "It makes serious clients uncomfortable. I'm sure you understand." She leaned in slightly. "This is not that kind of store." For a brief moment, the entire boutique seemed to hold its breath. Imani looked around at the dresses, the mirrors, the soft lights that lit the very things she had imagined into reality. It felt strange and painful to be treated like a trespasser in a space she had built from nothing. But under that pain, something else was waking up. Not anger, strength. She straightened her shoulders and looked back at Sabrina. "I understand more than you think," she said quietly. Sabrina mistook the calm for defeat. She gave a satisfied nod, already turning her head toward Clara. Imani didn't move. Outside, a child stopped in front of the huge window display, pressing her small hands to the glass as she stared at the glittering dresses. Just beyond reach, Imani saw her reflection overlaid with the girl's face, and she knew, with a clarity that cut through everything, this story was not going to end the way Sabrina expected. Imani moved deeper into the store, trailing her fingers along the edge of the rack as if she were any other stranger who had wandered in off the street. She knew the layout by heart. She'd worked on it with the design team, adjusting the flow, the lighting, even the space between each hanger so the dresses could breathe. She walked it like someone being quietly watched. "Excuse me." Clara's voice drifted across the room, just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Is everything all right in here?" Sabrina's eyes flicked toward her. "I have it under control, Miss Monroe," she said. "We're just making sure the environment stays curated." Imani browsed a row of cocktail dresses, checking stitches out of habit, though they were perfect. She could feel Clara's gaze prickling the back of her neck, like an accusation. Sabrina followed her, her heels tapping too close behind. "I really am going to need you to wrap this up," Sabrina said, her tone firmer now. "We have a private fitting coming in, and this area needs to stay clear for our VIP guests." Imani turned slightly. "I'm not in anyone's way," she replied, voice calm. "I'm just looking." Sabrina's smile flattened. "As I said, this is a high-end boutique. Our pieces are quite expensive." "I'm aware," Imani said simply. Something in that answer annoyed Sabrina. "I'm not sure you are," she said. "We've had issues before, people coming in to just look and then trying to haggle over prices. Or worse. Imani repeated, her brow lifting. "You know," Sabrina said, lowering her voice with a knowing shrug. "People who never intended to buy anything, taking up space, touching everything, lowering the atmosphere." Imani's stomach clenched. Clara walked over then, a silk scarf looped around her hand. "Honestly, Sabrina, I'm surprised you let anyone walk in without appointments," Clara said lightly. "This isn't a department store." Sabrina gave a small laugh. "I completely agree. I've been telling our invisible owner that for months." Invisible owner. Imani almost smiled at the choice of words. Clara glanced at Imani with that same assessing look. "Sometimes," she said, "if you don't protect your brand, anyone will just wander in. No standards." Her eyes dropped to Imani's worn flats. "No respect for what this place is?" Imani felt something inside her curl into a tight ball. She looked at Clara evenly. I respect this place, she said. More than you know. Clara's mouth twitched. I'm sure you do. Sabrina took a small step closer, effectively boxing Imani in between a rack of dresses and the jewelry display. Look, Sabrina said, dropping the fake politeness now. I'm asking you nicely. If you're not shopping, you need to leave. We can't have people loitering. It makes other customers uncomfortable. People like me, Imani said quietly, the words sliding out before she could stop them. Sabrina gave a quick, tense smile. Don't twist my words. This is about keeping standards. We have an image. This isn't a thrift store or a strip mall. She leaned forward slightly and dropped her voice to a sharper whisper. We have a brand to protect. There. It was, Imani felt the sentence. Hit her with more force than if Sabrina had shoved her. The message wasn't hidden. It was loud and clear. You don't look rich. You don't look like you belong. You are a threat to the image. Her fingers gripped the fabric of the nearest dress for a second. She had once stayed up until 3 in the morning, perfecting that very hem, skipping dinner to finish it in time for a lunch. Now she was being told she was dangerous to it. Behind Sabrina, Elise stood frozen near the front counter, watching with frightened eyes. Another associate pretended to be busy arranging scarves, but her hands shook. Should I call security? Clara asked, sounding almost eager now, like this was entertainment. Imani's chest tightened. There's no need for that, she said. Oh, I don't know, Clara said. You hear stories now. People come in, steal something, and run. If you don't draw a line, I'm not here to steal, Imani said, a hint of steel slipping into her voice. Sabrina shot her a look. No one said you were, she replied. But this is not the place to just wander around. You clearly don't have a purchase in mind. You haven't asked what I have in mind, Imani said. Sabrina's patience snapped. What you have in mind doesn't matter, she said, the mask finally dropping. This space is for serious clients, not for browsing, touching, and leaving fingerprints. Each word felt like a slap. Imani's throat burned, but her face remained even. She had fought too hard to break down in front of people like this. Escort her out, Sabrina said, turning her head. Elise startled. Me? She whispered. Sabrina nodded sharply. Yes, kindly show her the door. We can't waste more time. Elise hesitated, her eyes meeting Imani's for a brief, aching second. I can walk out on my own, Imani said. No one needs to escort me anywhere. Sabrina folded her arms. Good, she said. Then please do so. We're done here. Behind them, a couple had stopped mid-conversation. Another woman clutched her purse closer. Someone murmured, Honestly, what is she even doing in here? Over by the window, the man in the dark suit who had recognized Imani from the investor pitch stood half-turned, watching the scene unfold. His brows were drawn together, jaw tight. He looked like he was about to step in. Again. Imani shook her head just slightly. Not yet. She wanted the truth to show itself. Fully, ugly, and undeniable dot as she moved toward the front of the store. She heard Sabrina mutter under her breath. Low, but not low enough. Every time we start attracting serious clients, they start showing up. Clara huffed a laugh. You should put a sign on the door. Oh, trust me, Sabrina replied. If I could control who came in, I would. Elise closed her eyes for a brief second, her fingers tightening around the edge of the counter. The other associate stared down at her shoes, shame flushing her cheeks. Imani stepped out onto the sidewalk. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that somehow felt louder than anything said. Inside, on the bench just to the side of the boutique, she sat down and finally let herself breathe. The sounds of the street washed over her car doors closing. A bus brakes hissing, a child laughing somewhere down the block. It all felt distant, like she was watching the world. From behind the glass wall, her mind held on to Sabrina's words like, sharp pieces of glass, people, like you. This isn't a thrift store. We have a brand to protect. She pressed her elbows to her knees and lowered her head into her hands. This was her brand. Her name might not be on the sign, but her designs filled the racks. Her ideas shaped the mannequins in the window. Her story lived in every stitch. She had poured years of her life into building something that was supposed to be different, something that opened doors instead of closing them. Now it was being used to push her out of her own space. Images flickered in her mind like fast-cut scenes. A teacher saying, "Are you sure you did this by yourself?" when she won a design contest in high school. A security guard trailing behind her in a store, watching her hands instead of her face. An investor smiling tightly and saying, "We're just not sure the luxury market will respond well to a black woman as the face of the brand." She had taken all of that and used it as fuel. Today, that old hurt felt fresh again. As she sat there trying to steady her breathing. A shadow crossed the pavement in front of her. She looked up. A little black girl, maybe 8 or 9, stood staring at the forget.This window, eyes wide with wonder. Her hair was in neat braids, threaded with gold beads that chimed softly when she moved. Her mother stood beside her, holding a shopping bag from a discount store down the street. "Mom," the girl breathed, "look at that dress. It's so pretty. One day, I want to make dresses like that." Her mother hesitated, looking at the prices in the corner of the window sign, then at the polished marble floor inside. "Sweetheart," she said quietly, "places like that, they're not for us." The words landed like a stone in Imani's chest. "Not for us." She watched the girl's face fall, the dream in her eyes dim just a bit. It was a tiny moment, the kind most people would forget in an hour. Imani knew better. She knew how those little cuts stayed inside you, how they told you, over and over, that you were on the outside of everything beautiful. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from Derek lit up the screen. "How's the boutique check-in?" "Investors waiting at 4. Proud of you, sis." She stared at the message for a long second. Her heart still hurt. Her pride still burned. Her hands still shook. But something inside her, something old and strong and stubborn, began to rise. No. Today was not going to end with her sitting on a bench, pushed out of her own dream. She sat up straighter and wiped the corners of her eyes with the back of her hand. Her reflection in the glass door stared back at her, tired, wounded, but not defeated. Behind her, inside the boutique, she could see Sabrina's outline moving around, gesturing, laughing with Clara, acting like nothing was wrong. Imani slipped her phone back into her pocket and took a slow breath. If Sabrina was willing to treat a stranger this way, how many others had she pushed out? How many dreams had she chipped away at with those same words? Imani stood up. The pain didn't vanish, but it shifted into something hotter, clearer. Resolve. She hadn't built forget.This so that people like Sabrina could decide who belonged. She turned back toward the glass door. Today, she decided, this story was going to change. Imani stepped back toward the boutique, her heartbeat steady now, not from anger, but from purpose. As her hand reached for the door, it swung open from the inside. Elise stepped out, her face full of apology and something else. Determination. "Imani?" Elise whispered, glancing over her shoulder to make sure Sabrina wasn't watching. "Are you okay?" Imani nodded softly. "I will be." Elise's voice trembled. "I'm really sorry for what she said. She does this a lot, especially to customers who don't look rich, or who aren't She hesitated, eyes flicking over Imani's skin. You know, Imani appreciated the honesty. Thank you for coming out, she said. Most wouldn't. Elise shook her head. Most are scared. Sabrina is ruthless. If anyone questions her, she threatens to get them fired. People need these jobs. Imani exhaled. I understand. Elise bit her lip, then added in a small voice, but what she did to you wasn't just rude. It was wrong. For the first time since walking into the boutique, Imani's chest didn't feel so heavy. She managed a gentle smile. Your kindness helped more than you know. Elise's face brightened with relief, but the moment ended abruptly as Sabrina's voice cut sharply from inside. Elise, what are you doing? Stop entertaining that woman and get back to work. Elise flinched. Imani looked past her through the open door. Sabrina was standing behind the counter, arms crossed, whispering something to Clara. The two shared an amused smirk, and just like that, the sting returned, but it no longer weakened her. It fueled her. Elise stepped aside as Imani walked into the boutique again, this time with her chin raised slightly higher. Sabrina's eyes widened in irritation. You again? She snapped. I thought I made myself clear. Clara scoffed. Some people just can't take a hint. Imani didn't flinch, didn't blink. She looked directly at Sabrina. I'm here for a reason, she said calmly. Well, unless that reason is buying something which you clearly can't afford, you need to leave, Sabrina replied. We cannot waste time on people like me? Imani finished for her. Sabrina blinked, startled. I didn't say. You didn't need to, Imani said. Her voice remained steady, but carried an edge now, quiet and sharp like a thread cutter. Your meaning was clear. A few customers paused their browsing, sensing tension. An associate at the jewelry stand set down a tray slowly, listening. Sabrina straightened her jacket. Listen carefully, she said, because I'm only saying this once. You are not welcome here. Please leave before I involve security. Elise whispered urgently. Sabrina, please. Stay out of this, Elise, Sabrina snapped. And don't worry, I plan to talk to the owner about improving our customer screening. We can't have our store look cheap. Imani took one step forward. About that, she said softly. You should definitely talk to the owner. Sabrina raised an eyebrow. Oh? And why is that? Because the owner would want to know exactly what you've been doing, Imani replied. How many people you've humiliated. How many assumptions you've made. How many customers you've pushed out. Sabrina rolled her eyes. Please, the owner trusts me. I run this store better than anyone. I uphold the brand. The owner knows exactly what kind of clients we want. Imani nodded slowly. You're right about one thing, she said. The owner does know what kind of clients we want, and how they should be treated. Clara scoffed loudly. Oh, what? Are you going to complain to corporate? She said dramatically. Do you expect them to take you seriously? Imani met her gaze without blinking. Yes, she said. I do. Sabrina let out a cold laugh. And why is that? The store went still. Every employee froze. Every customer turned. Even Clara's smirk faltered. Imani gently placed her hand on the counter, the same counter where Sabrina had stood a dozen times, boasting about her authority. Then she spoke, each word calm but reverberating through the room, because I'm the one who built this brand. I'm the founder of Verit Luxe, and I own this boutique. The silence that followed was almost thick enough too. Touch. Clara's mouth fell open. The associate at the jewelry stand gasped softly. Elise's eyes widened with relief and vindication. Sabrina froze. Her eyes darted between Imani's face, her clothes, her posture searching, for any sign that this was a lie. But Imani looked exactly like what she was, a woman who had nothing left to prove. Sabrina stuttered. "What are you talking about?" "The owner is me," Imani said again, her tone firm. "My name is on every legal document, every design, every contract." She paused. "Including your employment contract." Sabrina's face drained of color. "You're lying," Clara whispered, grabbing her purse tighter. Elise stepped forward. "She's telling the truth," she said, her voice steadier than before. "I've seen her designs, her sketches, her photo in the back office files." The other associate nodded timidly. "I have too." Imani held Sabrina's gaze. "I came in today, unannounced, to observe how customers are treated, to see whether the values I built this brand on were being upheld." Her voice grew softer but sharper. "And instead, I watched my manager judge someone based on their clothes, their skin, their assumptions." A few customers murmured in discomfort. Imani continued, "You told me I didn't belong in my own store. You told me I made people uncomfortable. You told me I was lowering the brand." Sabrina swallowed hard. "Imani, I didn't know. That's the problem," Imani said quietly. Her next words cut through the air like a final stitch tightening. "You don't get to decide who belongs here. Not anymore." Sabrina's knees seemed to weaken. I can explain." Imani shook her head gently. "No, you've explained enough." She straightened her spine. "Effective immediately, you're terminated." Clara gasped. A customer whispered, "Wow." Elise's hand flew to her mouth. Sabrina stared, as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "Got fired?" "You can't." "I can," Imani said. "And I just did. You'll receive a written notice by this evening." The room, once cold and judgmental, now brimmed with a new kind of energy respect. Relief, admiration. Sabrina sputtered. Reaching for words, but none came, Clara backed away slowly, suddenly unable to meet Imani's eyes. The associate behind the jewelry counter whispered, "About time." Imani turned to the staff. "We'll have a meeting after closing," she said gently. "This store will be run differently from now on." Then she looked at Elise. "And I'd like to promote you to assistant manager." Elise's eyes filled instantly. "Me? Or are you sure?" "Yes," Imani said softly. "You treated me with dignity when no one else would. That's the kind of leadership this brand needs." A small round of applause broke out from customers and staff alike. Imani finally allowed herself a slow breath, feeling a weight lift from her chest. The brand she had built was no longer being used as a weapon against people who looked like her dot today. She had taken it back. The boutique remained unusually quiet after Sabrina was escorted out, as if the entire building needed a moment to breathe. Employees stood straighter. Customers softened their expressions, and the sharp air of judgment that usually lingered began to evaporate. For the first time all day, Imani felt the space reflect the vision she had once dreamed of, a place built on beauty, respect, and possibility. Elise approached her carefully, still unsure if she should speak. "I just want to say thank you," she said. "Not just for believing me, but for standing up for yourself. We've all felt scared around Sabrina, even when we knew things were wrong. But today, you changed that." Imani gave her a warm nod. "Thank you for speaking the truth when it mattered," she replied. "Courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's just choosing not to stay silent." A nearby customer, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, stepped forward. "I've shopped here for years," she said gently, "and I've never seen this store feel as genuine as it does right now. You handled that with grace many people don't have." Imani smiled, humbled. "Thank you. That means a lot." Soon after, Imani gathered the staff together in a soft semicircle near the front of the boutique. "There will be changes," she announced. "Nothing extreme, but everything necessary. This store will no longer be a place where someone's worth is judged by what they wear, how they look, or what someone assumes about them." The employees nodded, some relieved, some emotional. Imani continued, "We're going to start diversity and empathy training. We will rebuild how we welcome customers. And from today on, no one is allowed to mistreat any one customer or employee. Respect is the foundation of Verret Luke's. It always should have been." And then she turned to Elise. "I'd like to officially offer you the position of assistant manager." Elise's breath hitched. "Ah, yes. I accept. Thank you so much." Tears gathered in her eyes, but she blinked them back quickly. Overwhelmed and grateful Dot, as the staff returned to their duties with renewed energy. Imani finally stepped outside for some air. Her phone buzzed with messages from Derek, checking in on her. She typed back briefly, "Everything's okay now. I'll tell you everything tonight." Before she could leave, she noticed a familiar figure standing at the nearby window, the little black girl she had seen earlier, staring dreamily at the dresses inside. This time, the girl's mother stood beside her, hesitating as if unsure whether to walk in. Imani approached them with a gentle smile. "Hello," she greeted, kneeling down slightly so she was eye level with the girl. "Do you like the dresses?" The girl nodded shyly. "They're so pretty," she whispered. "One day I want to make dresses like that, but Mommy says places like this aren't for us." Her mother flushed in embarrassment, looking away. "I didn't mean anything by it," she murmured. "It's just, we don't always feel welcome in fancy stores." Imani stood, her voice soft but strong. "You're welcome here, always. This place was created for everyone who loves beauty, not just the people others expect to belong." The mother looked surprised. "You sound like you really care about this place." Imani smiled. "I do. I'm the owner." Their eyes widened. "You?" The girl asked in awe. "Yes, me," Imani said. "And you can own something like this too. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." The girl beamed, a spark in her eyes that Imani recognized because she had once carried the same spark, sitting at a sewing machine in a small apartment, believing her dreams were bigger than the world would allow. Dot, as the mother and daughter stepped inside the boutique. Imani watched them go with a warmth that spread through her chest. Today had been painful, humiliating, exhausting, but necessary. It reminded her why she built this brand, why she worked so hard, why representation mattered. She locked the boutique later that evening and stood alone on the sidewalk, gazing at the glowing sign she created with her own hands. Verret Luke's Truth in Luxury. A brand built from struggle, resilience, and brilliance. A brand reclaimed. A space where dignity finally had a home. Imani whispered to herself as she walked away. "They tried to push me out of my own story, but I wrote the ending. And this time, it was written in her own power."